Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. You know, there is a small, non-ironic chance that what I'm about to talk about here today is related to my seeming need to drive everyone away. I mean, the more of these recordings I make, the fewer people listen to them. So don't think I don't notice that. I absolutely do notice it. But I'm not going to stop saying things the way I see them. You know, and I don't, at this point, give a shit if a single person agrees with me, you know? And it's becoming more and more clear that nobody does agree with me. I mean, mathematically speaking, I know there's a few of you out there, high five, but I have a feeling even most of you are probably like, okay, I'll listen to one or two of these things, then fuck that guy. But anyway, I'm going to charge forward and just keep giving my takes on things, regardless, because first of all, it doesn't cost me anything. I'm not looking to win any popularity contests. This is free. Anyway, on with the show. I just watched, regrettably, I don't know. I don't really regret it. Something happens in the news and everybody's talking about something and I want to see what they're talking about. Anyway, there was a sex tape, air quotes, released of Glenn Greenwald, who is a journalist who you probably know about, lives in Brazil. He's basically a leftist, but he's got the kind of progressive politics that are kind of like aligned with Jimmy Dore. And a lot of my politics, actually, I have in the past appreciated his, well, let's just put it this way. I've appreciated what has seemed to be honest takes from him. Mostly honest takes. And because I appreciate it when I detect authenticity and honesty. I like that, you know? And Glenn Greenwald has been upfront about the fact that he's gay. And I've had many gay friends in my life. And so the fact that somebody's gay doesn't necessarily, it doesn't thrill me. Like, I'm not like, yippee, skippy, God makes all kinds of people, lets everybody stick their dicks in whatever holes they want to, or lick whatever genitals they want to. I mean, once upon a time, I kind of thought that way. You know, like, it's none of your business. It's just none of your business. You know, you shouldn't know anything about what's going on behind closed doors and blah, 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 blah. You know, but I don't know. Every time I said that, I never felt really good about it. It's like there's this thing where we're just supposed to, when it comes to people's sexuality, we're just supposed to pretend like nothing matters. Like everything that happens behind a closed door doesn't matter. You know, first of all, I think that most people behind closed doors are mostly doing pretty boring, normal sex stuff that they just do. I don't even want to get into talking about sex stuff because that's part of the problem. The problem is that everybody's being fixated with sex stuff, and that's how things get so perverted. I think let's just put it this way, without the media and without the conversation about sex being so ever present, I would suspect that most sex that you would see in the world at any given time is just pretty boring sex. People creating some friction on their funny bits exploding, and then you know what I mean? I don't want to get gross here, but I think most of it's like that. And then you got a segment of the world and it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. Well, look, this Glenn Greenwald tape was nothing normal. There was nothing normal about it. He's a man. He's a full-grown man. He's on his knees, kissing the feet of a black guy, trying to lick his wiener, and acting extremely subservient, bowing to him, kissing his feet. And then at a certain point, the Brazilian black guy takes out his PayPal and pay him 10,000 reais, Brazilian dollars basically, for whatever they're about to do next. And he just does it. He types it and he does it, and he has this yes master kind of look. And look, I'm not an idiot. I know that is a very well-known perversion that many people have. The yes master, poop on me, pee on me shit. But I've always thought it was creepy and weird. And I don't like having conversations with people about it because I'm judgmental. And let's put it this way. I use discretion. I'm prejudicial. And I am because I acknowledge reality, and all my senses that lead me to be that way are what help guide me through the world. Is this person reliable? Is that person going to fuck me over? Can I rely upon this person? Does this person get it? Does this person understand morality? Is this person going to be fair with me? Are they going to shoot straight with me? You know what I mean? And I get it. We're not going to know most of the things about a person. And somebody in this, maybe listening to this, might have some weird little perversion that they're thinking about right now. I don't know. But my point here is that I can't watch Glenn Greenwald ever again and take anything he says seriously. I just can't. I can't. Because whatever role he was playing, and I'm sure he would call it role playing, he's a man, he's got a little G-string on, wearing a little maid's uniform or whatever. It looks totally stupid, It's like, is he trying to be a woman in that? Is he being... I don't even want to know. But to me, that disconnect with reality is... You may as well be a fucking furry. Am I going to sit here and have a rational conversation with a fucking furry? No, I'm not. Okay? And I'm not going to pretend that I am. And I don't know. There's a certain part of me, the conspiratorial side of my brain, that makes me wonder, is this all part of the long con with Glenn Greenwald? By cozying up to the right wing, or maybe the conservative wing, or whatever you want to call it, to rational people, and just, and now this thing comes out. Did he know it was coming out? Look. But if he says he didn't know it was coming out, I just go, you're a fucking idiot. Glenn, you either, part of your kink either involves me, or you're so dumb I can never listen to you again. And I suspect that your kink does involve me, because this man that was recording him was not hiding his camera. He wasn't hiding at all. Glenn is looking straight into the camera. Glenn is no dummy. He understands Mossad. He understands Pegasus. He understands that anything he does on a private camera can or will. He knows. We have to believe that he knows this, right? I'm not going to suspend this idea. There's no way anybody's going to convince me that he's not smart enough to know. So either he knows it, which I'm sure he does, and the risk was worth it. In other words, the risk was the danger in getting caught, meaning that he kind of hoped he would get caught, kind of hoped he would. That's part of the fantasy. Why? He's got to know that that's going to come out, Why do I need to know about it, Glenn? Why? Why was that important for you? Why did you factor that in? Is that something that happened in your childhood, or is there something more to it? Because you're not going to convince me that was just some lapse of trust. It's part of the kink, and if part of the kink was getting caught, well, you did get caught. And now guess what? I am part of the deal. You know? Because you've involved me with your different takes on things. I followed you, all this stuff. You got me involved in this. Because there's no way he can say that he didn't know the camera was there. There's no way he can claim that he doesn't know how these things work. That obviously his kink in this video is having somebody basically command him around. It's almost like it's a blackmail video to be blackmail. It's a blackmail kink where this guy's saying, open up your PayPal. You're going to send me $10,000 right now. And he does it. And he goes, I'm so happy to do that for you, master, or something worse to that degree. You know, like, please blackmail me. You know what I mean? So when that blackmailing kink actually comes true, how can anybody look at that video and go, this level of it, this new level of it being exposed, who's to say that's not just part of it? I'm claiming it is. It is part of it. It is part of it. And you think I want to listen to some fucking dude? I don't care what his takes are. I don't care how much they match mine. I don't want to listen to some fucking dude that's trying to wrap me up into his kink. You know what I mean? And that's what he's doing. He's not stupid. He's wrapping you into his kink. Part of that kink in that video is being played out on the internet right now, with everybody arguing about Glenn Greenwald kissing a black guy's feet and paying him ransom money while he's in a G-string. Okay? That's part of the kink. You're part of it. And part of the kink for a sicko like him is involving Republicans who have extended their non-judgmentalness to him. You know, the conservatives that have said, you know what, you're gay, I know it, but you know what, Glenn, we agree, and I can get beyond it. Well, guess what? The kink is playing out. It's playing out before your eyes. Now he's got you in the kink. Right? The conservatives, all these conservatives have now seen me. You know? You know? Is he aroused by that? I don't fucking know. I don't want to know. But I know that I don't want to fucking hear from him anymore on issues that require any kind of rational or reliable take. You know what I mean? I was thinking about this earlier too. I don't have many friends left, okay? I've got a few. Most of them are old-time friends from high school and before. You know, and I've made some good friends along the way that I really like, and some of them are gay. And if any of them would listen to this, you know, they might not enjoy what I'm saying right now. But even before the Glenn Greenwald thing, I was really thinking about this. I was going, because some other guy on the in Messenger was sending me messages, guys I don't know, and he's a gay guy, and he's just trying to make chit chat with me. He's telling me I'm awesome and all this stuff. And I'm like going, okay, great. I don't know why do I know that you're gay? Why have you told me that you're gay? And I was really asking this. Like, why? He put a rainbow flag and he goes, and then he was trying to talk about how people don't understand it. And I'm like, well, why does anybody know you're gay? There's only one person really, or a few people that should ever really know what you're about. You know, how about that? How about some private moments with people? You know, how about not just immediately walking into a room and saying, hey guys, let me tell you what makes my genitals feel funny. Hey stranger, let me talk about my genitals right away. How about no? How about you talk about something else and let nature have its way in a natural progression? You know, maybe move from, you know, Wow, you read that same book? I like that book too. This is my favorite movie. Wow, I like your shoes. Why not move progressively? And, well, how many people are in your family? Where are you from? What are your morals like? What are your political beliefs? What are your, look, sex is going to be pretty much enjoyable no matter what. Might not be the first time you ever have it. Whatever. You can talk about chemistry between people or whatever, but anyway, this putting the cart before the horse, putting sex first, treating sex casually, to me is already just a big problem. I went through a phase of trying to convince myself that wasn't true because I didn't want to be judgmental, and I was getting away from churchy people that were, saying all this type of stuff. So, but I took the long way around, made a career taking pictures of naked people. There's nothing really pornographic about it, but, I've been thinking about it lately. I've been thinking, there's no sense in regretting things that you do, but when I sit down and study what happened through all those years, there's a ways that people can go through their life. You can go through your life and you can never take accountability for anything you ever do, and you can talk your way out of any kind of accountability, or you can try to spin your life into a way where, oh no, I was always good. I was always well-intentioned. I never did anything wrong. Or you can just be honest as you grow older and go, you know what? That wasn't so good. I didn't have my vision, my vision wasn't super clear then, but, maybe my intentions weren't all bad, but you can still take ownership and go, yeah, that wasn't such a good idea. I involved all those people in my little thing, my little art project, and a lot of that was, and I've said this before, a lot of the reason why I ended up becoming known for taking nude photographs is because, first of all, I didn't plan it that way, but I was on a quest to kind of undo my judgmentalness, to prove that the things I was taught as a young person weren't really true, because I'm taught that anybody that's not in the church is miserable and blah, 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 and I didn't want to believe that. So I kind of involved myself. It started really early. Like, my mom told me not to hang out with Marty, this kid named Marty, who was the son of the woman who cut our hair. My mom knew her somehow. Almost an albino kid, blonde hair, blonde eyelashes, blonde eyebrows, weird looking kid. But he wasn't Mormon. His mom drank coffee and drinks and had wine and blah, blah, blah. She didn't want me hanging out with him. Of course, I wanted to hang out with him. I was just like, just because you told me not to. And I always kind of hung out with the non-Mormon kids because in my version, the way Jesus came across to me was like, you're supposed to be a missionary. You're supposed to reach out. You're not supposed to just hang out with your own kind. If you really have a good word, then you're supposed to spread it to people who don't have it, So anyway, that's a little bug that got in my brain, and I took it to a strange conclusion by moving to San Francisco, ultimately becoming this photographer of naked people. And it's not like I went out and hunted for people and said, will you please be in my book? It was really a matter of, I took pictures of a woman I was kind of dating. She liked the pictures. I said, man, I should make that into a coffee table book. It's a good picture, photographically speaking. She went out and told a bunch of people that I was making a book. And next thing I know, there's 5 girls at the bar saying they want to be in my book. So I go, oh, okay. Kind of uncomfortably going, okay, I guess I'll do that. But trying to put my big boy pants on, like, I'm so bohemian. I'm bohemian. I'm cosmopolitan now, boy. I'm a nude photographer. Look at me. I haven't changed. My morals haven't changed. See? And with each person that I added into that book, and because I'm photoshopping people, making them look, I'm giving them the commercial treatment, and eye contact. Anyway, a lot of morality behind it, or a lot of ways to cram more morality into it. So with each person that I did photos with, 5 others wanted to be in it, and there's a point where I would just simply And this is, talk about being inclusive. I just wouldn't say no to anybody. The only people I ever said no to, there was a couple times where I pulled the plug, and it's because the person who asked me to photograph them, seemed really super uncomfortable, or they had other body issues, and I became aware of some other thing. There was some other factor that they were overcoming, or it was some other thing, and I was just like, yeah, I don't think I want to be involved in this. So I pulled the plug on a few people that I thought, I won't say I didn't think they couldn't handle it, but anyway, I'm getting off track a little bit. But the point is looking back at it now, there's a million different ways where I told myself that it was fine, and it was good, and it's not pornographic, and I went to great lengths to make sure it wasn't pornographic by putting jokes and cram-packed full of art clues that said this is art, it's not porn, it's not meant to be titillating, blah, 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 blah. But looking back now, I feel like I probably, and I don't want to insult anybody that was part of my projects, and I don't necessarily want to apologize because it's kind of condescending to apologize to somebody when they don't feel like something bad happened. But regardless, if I could, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I'm sorry you got wrapped up. I'm sorry that I was part of that for you. And I know, and if you don't have a problem with it and you think it was great, fine. And if you haven't even thought about it, that's fine too. But I'm just acknowledging that there's a certain part of me that feels a bit icky about having been, let's just put it this way, having corrupted something that should probably, ideally, be held in a more sacred, I hate to use the religious words, but in a careful or, environment. This callousness with which people, that whole thing about our body being our temple, I didn't like that kind of stuff when I was younger. But now I kind of get the wisdom of it. It's just like, because sexual attraction is so powerful, and because the result of it, which is our children or potential children or fetuses, or even just actually with the idea that casual sex doesn't leave a lot of damaged people in a wake, to me is wrong. I just don't believe it. You can go through your life and you can tell yourself, and a lot of people can detach from feelings, and they can try to tell themselves that they're not leaving any damage in their wake. But it does. It does. There's a sex itself is so miraculous on every level that I think it's bullshit to deny it, to just say, oh no, it's no big deal, big fucking deal. People don't care. Even these studies that show that women carry the DNA of every sexual partner they've ever had, like it literally, if you becomes part of them, even get rid of the religious aspect, the scientific part of it is just kind of mind-blowing. When you think about the abortions, I mean, abortion is nothing more than just hideous. It's totally ugly, but one thing that contributes to it is this attitude of casual sex, or not treating it with importance. And I mean, TMI, I'm one of those suckers that's just like, even I, like, intimacy is hard to come by. And so when you have it, there's well, it's not really hard to come by, but it's powerful. Let's just put it that way. And to pretend or to diminish the power is not good. Because I was talking about pedophiles and how that's all the big rage now, and these secret things. And what was it? What's the recent story? Somebody was talking to me about it. But look, all of these little perversions, all of these little opening up the door, let's talk about sex. Let's maybe not talk about sex. How about everybody back in the closet, including straight people? How about let's put the power, let's bring taboos back, you know? How about that? You know, you don't get casual abortion, you don't get happy Planned Parenthood ads acting like they're doing you health care. Abortion is health care. You don't get that without diminishing the power, You have to literally diminish the power of sex and pretend it's just casual. It's no big deal. It's just, there's nothing special about it, Have it with as many people as you want to. It's love. No, it's not love. It's love. Love is sitting around and taking care of somebody when they're sick. Taking care of them because they're the mother of your children. Looking after them when they're having the worst day of their life. That's love. Not love them and leave them. See you later. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. All that. That's not love. To me, that's carelessness. It's the opposite of love. You can pretend, I'm still good friends with all the women. Are you? Do you know what kind of dreams they have of you? Do you know what kind of pain they went through because of you? You don't know. They won't tell you. They're too proud. Nobody wants to admit that they were involved in something that was really painful. Everybody's got to suck it up and just go, I don't want to be the prude. I don't want to be the prude. I don't want to be that, old fogey. I don't want to be the church lady. So anyway, now I see all these conservative church ladies sticking up for Glenn Greenwald, and Dave Rubin. I said a while back, can we just get some leadership, air quotes, can we get leaders that don't want to stick their wieners into buttholes of strangers? Can we do that? I made that post a while ago, and one of my gay friends sent me some messages, really mean. I can't believe it. I'm friends with your daughter. He preached to me and acted like I was some kind of evil person. But I really do. Why should the regular average person, and this is my theory, I don't know. Maybe your average person, maybe I'm the weirdo, and that your average person is actually putting on a G-string and transferring $10,000 to a black male prostitute and licking his feet. And that's just how it goes. And I'm the only person that's ever been got left out of the loop. But everybody else is like that. I suspect that's not true. I suspect most people are kind of boring in that regard. And they really do value sex, and they really do value their partners, or their partners, their husband, their wife, their significant others, Why should the majority, those people, why should we have to sit there and be led around by a smaller group of people that are dead set and desperate to normalize their weird kinks? See, that's the thing, is on the bell curve. You don't have to. The middle doesn't have to normalize anything. Normal people, average people, non-fucked up people, don't have to normalize things because they are normal. You know what I mean? They're normal. Why do the normal people have to accommodate people that are outside the norm? Why do we have to make the fringes into the norm? And that's kind of what's happening. That's what this whole movement since the 60s or before, They say that the books that were actually burned in Germany were pornographic books. I don't know. I wasn't there. But when you hear it that way, it makes It's different. Oh, they're burning books. You can see it now. That's what the liberals are saying now when you want to take the porn books out of elementary schools. They're saying, oh, you're burning books. Yeah, is porn a book? Okay, it's a book technically speaking, but you're not being honest. But even my friends, and I think this is true, I've had pretty frank conversations with some of my gay friends, one in particular, and she's like, at least she represents that she's on board with everything that I'm saying. And I think she'd probably agree with me on this too, Like, for example, I understand that I'm an anomaly, I wouldn't want the world to live my life, My life is a series of mistakes that I am happy I had the chance to make. I'm very grateful for my life and the way it's gone, but I wouldn't ever recommend that anybody else live it this way. In fact, I would say, don't do this, don't do that. I wouldn't do this. This is my mistake. This is where I fucked up, blah, 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 blah. The normal people win out most of the time. There's nothing wrong with being normal. There's nothing wrong with not putting on a fucking G-string and bowing and kissing a black prostitute's feet and sending him $10,000. By the way, if you're in a marriage, you don't need to be bowing down and kissing feet of your... That's weird. No, you don't need to do that. That's not good on a relationship level. That's not good on any level. If somebody's trying to make you feel that way, if somebody agrees to dominate you, to hurt you, or to pretend to hurt you, you need to ask yourself, why do I want that from them? And why am I making them do that? And why do they want that from me? No, you can say no. You don't have to. This whole idea of normalizing this shit. There's no way that incident in Glenn Greenwald's video is just relegated to the bedroom. That's not reality. That's not how reality works. Okay? You don't suddenly become this totally different creature in the bedroom. Yes, you do a lot of things that are weird. Sex is weird if you're not involved in it, from an outsider. That's why we're supposed to close our doors and it's supposed to be private, But to say that all of it's the same, that Glenn Greenwald video is exactly the same as a mother and a father with 4 children having sex to create a 5th child, with no fanfare, nobody performing, nobody pretending to be a porn star, nobody pretending they're a cop, none of this weird fucking shit, as if sex needs to be improved upon somehow. It doesn't. Okay? You don't need to improve it with a script or with a wig or with a bunch of other shit. Just be present, be in love, be available, look somebody in the eyes and fucking be real. That's all you fucking need for that shit. Anyway, you are listening to The Opinion Machine, if you didn't notice. But anyway, I love my gay friends. I do. But I don't want them setting the bar of what's normal. And I don't want them... Here's the big thing, when it comes to children, there's these valid questions. Why are the drag queen story hours, why are they not happening in the old folks' home? This idea that nature is creating tons of gay people, I don't buy. Obviously, we all know that there are some. Everybody here listening knows that you've met really feminine men when they were really young. There's stepdad lesbians, there's women that are so masculine. There's no way they would look weird trying to act straight. Nobody wants to see Liberace pretending to be somebody's husband. Nobody wants to see that. So we get that. But for the most part, nature is creating human beings to create more human beings, which means they're creating straight people. Left to their own devices, there'd be a small little percentage of gay people and a much larger percentage of people that are straight, just based on duh. acknowledging reality, right? And so how do you, if you're part of this small category and you feel mistreated and people maybe mistreat you and maybe they shouldn't mistreat you, but they do, you know, you're going to want to change that. And you're going to feel these activist things. I want to be treated just like everybody else. I don't want to be the special little princess, but I want to be the ultimate special princess too, you know. They have to recruit children. Okay, that's the sick part. They have to recruit children. Pizzagate's back in the news, you know. I was a doubter back then, but the more time goes on, you see more people getting busted, and it comes. You just go, oh yeah, because these little communities, you can understand why somebody that's part of a small little kinky community who is universally hated. And it doesn't matter how they got there. They could have gotten there by being molested themselves, you know, or whatever. Let's just say you're part of a vulnerable community that everybody hates. You're going to band together and get power. And since nature isn't creating a bunch of gay people, you got to recruit them, you know? You got to recruit them. And to me, that's the problem. That's the slippery slope of gay marriage. That's the slippery slope of casual sex. That's the slippery slope of saying, Glenn, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about that video that you knew you were making. This isn't security cam video, dude. No. He knew it was being made. He looked straight into the camera. It's part of the kink. You know? It's fine. It's fine. We're all sinners, blah, blah, blah. You know? Fine. Forgive him. Great. But don't let him guide your thinking. Because that's part of his thinking. That's where he's trying to guide you. Where's Dave Rubin trying to guide you? Dave Rubin's trying to guide you into thinking that you can just purchase babies. The babies don't need their mothers. That you can just pay a woman and buy her baby from her. That's what Dave Rubin's leading you. Even if he's telling the truth about the rest of his ideas and his thoughts, that's what he's doing. And he's not doing it with any sort of shame or caution, like total disregard for whether or not this is good or bad for society. Let me tell you, babies for sale, that's not good. That's not good. That doesn't go in a good direction. You know, neither does abortion's fine. That doesn't go in a good direction either. Neither does the death penalty, quite frankly. Anyway, that's my opinion on that. I've got more to say about that, but yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, if I was a gay person and I was listening to me speak right now, I might be feeling pretty uncomfortable. But if I was a gay person, I mean, I would still have my brain. And I'd go, actually, you know what? You can't deny the logic. This is pretty reasonable. It's pretty reasonable to not want to not want to normalize perversions. To not want to normalize kinks. We don't want to normalize a grown man in a G-string kissing a black prostitute's feet and paying him $10,000 for it. We don't want to normalize buying babies to be raised without their mothers, with men who are oversexed. You know what I mean? Come on. Stop it. Stop denying reality, okay? A lot of the gay people you know that you love became gay because they were molested. They were groomed into it. Some of them not. Okay? And you know the difference. Don't pretend like you don't. You know the difference between a Rosie O'Donnell and some dude that just wants to stick his wiener into any hole he can find. And and I'm not saying Rosie O'Donnell is great or anything, but come on. You don't want to see Rosie O'Donnell walking around with a husband. It'd make you, it'd make you barf, because you know what's wrong. Anyway, I guess I got to get ready to lose some more friends. But anyway, thanks for listening. Unnecessary outro song to totally waste